The air was thick with the scent of freshly brewed coffee and the unspoken tension that had become a staple in our home. Ethan was absorbed in the morning paper, a silent barrier between us. I watched him over the rim of my mug, contemplating how to broach the subject that had been consuming my thoughts for weeks. "Ethan," I began, my voice steady despite the pounding of my heart. "I've been thinking about us, about how we can spice things up." He lowered the paper, his eyes meeting mine with a mixture of curiosity and concern. "What do you mean?" he asked, the paper now forgotten on the table. I took a deep breath, my mind racing with justifications for the plan I was about to unveil. "I think we should see other people," I blurted out, the words hanging in the air like a thick fog. Ethan's reaction was immediate and visceral. "What?" he exclaimed, his voice a mixture of disbelief and hurt. "Alex, are you unhappy with me?" No, it's not like that," I rushed to explain, realizing how my words must have sounded. "I just thought it might be exciting to, bring someone else into our relationship. Temporarily. It could strengthen our bond." "You're talking about cheating," he said flatly, the hurt in his eyes now replaced with a cold hardness I had never seen before. "It's not cheating if we're both in on it," I countered, feeling my resolve waver under his scrutinizing gaze. "Besides, I already talked to Jamie about it. She thinks it's a bold move." "Jamie?" Ethan's voice rose in incredulity. "You involved Jamie in this insane idea." "She's skeptical, but she's willing to support us," I said, trying to sound more confident than I felt. Ethan stood up, his chair scraping loudly against the floor. "This is crazy, Alex. I can't believe you'd even consider this. What happened to us? To talking things out?" I stood as well, reaching out to him, but he stepped back, a clear sign of his growing distance. "I thought it would be exciting," I repeated, my voice small. "I thought it could save us from becoming another boring, predictable couple." Ethan shook his head, a mixture of sadness and disbelief etching his features. "I don't even know who you are anymore," he whispered before walking away, leaving me standing alone, the weight of my proposal and his reaction crushing me with unforeseen regret. As I stood there, the silence of the room enveloping me, I couldn't help but wondered if I had just made the biggest mistake of my life. The plan that had seemed so revolutionary in my mind was unraveling before it had even begun. And the worst part was, I had no idea how to fix it. The following days were a blur of awkward silences and unspoken words. Ethan had become a ghost in our own home, his presence a constant reminder of the chasm my proposal had created between us. I knew I had to address the elephant in the room, to explain my reasoning, flawed as it might have been. It was a desperate attempt to salvage what was left of our crumbling relationship. One evening, as we sat on opposite ends of the couch, a chasm of cushions between us, I mustered the courage to speak. "Ethan," I started, my voice barely above a whisper, "can we talk about the other day?" He turned to look at me, his expression guarded. "What's there to talk about, Alex? You made yourself pretty clear." I edged closer, closing the physical distance in a hopeful attempt to bridge the emotional one. I made a mistake," I admitted, feeling the weight of my words. "I thought I was being innovative, trying to solve a problem I wasn't even sure existed. I never stopped to consider how it would make you feel." Ethan's gaze softened slightly, but the hurt was still there, lingering beneath the surface. "Why, Alex? Why would you think bringing someone else into our marriage was a good idea?" I sighed, searching for the right words. "I guess I was scared. Scared of us becoming complacent, of losing the spark that made us us. I thought if we shook things up, it might, I don't know, reignite something." "And Jamie?" he pressed, the mention of her name a sharp sting. "She was never the point, Ethan. It was about us. But I see now how misguided I was. How selfish," I confessed, feeling the enormity of my error. Ethan was silent for a long moment, his eyes searching mine. "Do you even want this marriage, Alex? Because it feels like you're looking for a way out." not a way to fix us. His words were a wake-up call, a stark realization that I had been so focused on my fears of stagnation that I had risked everything we had built together. I do want us, Ethan. More than anything. I was just lost. I'm so sorry. We sat there, the gap on the couch now closed, as we delved deeper into the issues that had led us to this point. It was the first honest conversation we had had in months, painful but necessary. Ethan's willingness to listen, to try to understand, was a testament to the love that still existed between us, battered, but not broken. As we talked into the early hours of the morning, a fragile hope began to take root. The path to rebuilding our trust and our relationship was long and uncertain, but for the first time since I had broached my disastrous proposal, it seemed possible. The shocking proposal had laid bare the cracks in our marriage, but it had also opened the door to healing, to rediscovering the reasons we had chosen each other in the first place. The days that followed were a testament to the resilience of the human heart, a slow but steady journey back from the brink. Ethan and I had begun to communicate more openly, our conversations a mix of vulnerability and cautious optimism. Yet there remained an undercurrent of tension, an unspoken fear that one misstep could unravel the fragile progress we had made. It was during this precarious time that an unexpected ally emerged, one I never would have anticipated. Jamie, whose name had once been a source of contention between Ethan and I, reached out with an olive branch that took me by surprise. I found her waiting at my doorstep one crisp Saturday morning, a tentative smile on her face. "Alex, can we talk?" she asked, her eyes reflecting genuine concern. I hesitated, unsure of her motives. "Jamie, I'm not sure that's a good idea." "Please," she implored, "just hear me out. I think I can help." Curiosity piqued, I led her into the kitchen where we sat across from each other at the table, a pot of tea between us. "I know I'm the last person you'd expect to be sitting here," Jamie began, her hands wrapped around her mug. "And I know what you're thinking, but I'm not here to judge or to take sides." "Then why are you here?" I asked, wary of her intentions. Jamie took a deep breath, her resolve evident. "Because I've been where you are. I've made mistakes in my marriage, big ones, and someone once helped me through it. I guess I'm hoping I can do the same for you." I was taken aback by her admission, my defenses slowly starting to crumble. "I don't know, Jamie. Ethan and I are trying to work through things, but it's complicated." "I understand," she nodded. "But sometimes an outside perspective can make a world of difference. I'm not saying I have all the answers, but maybe I can offer some guidance, or at least be someone you can talk to." Her offer, sincere and devoid of judgment, touched me in a way I hadn't expected. "Thank you, Jamie. That means a lot." We spent the next hour talking, not just about my relationship with Ethan, but about marriage, its challenges, and the work required to sustain it. Jamie shared her own experiences, the struggles she had faced, and the lessons she had learned. It was a conversation marked by honesty and empathy, a far cry from the animosity that had once defined our interactions. As Jamie prepared to leave, she turned to me, a supportive smile on her face. "Remember, Alex, you're not alone in this. Ethan loves you, and from what you've told me, you're both willing to fight for your marriage. That's more than half the battle." Her words stayed with me long after she had gone, a beacon of hope in the midst of uncertainty. Jamie, once a source of conflict, had become an unexpected ally, her support a reminder that sometimes help comes from the most unlikely of places. The days turned into weeks, and slowly, the fabric of our marriage began to weave itself back together, thread by thread. Ethan and I were no longer two strangers coexisting under the same roof, but partners actively working towards a common goal. The air between us was charged with a renewed sense of purpose, each conversation, each shared silence, a step towards reconciliation. It was on a quiet Thursday evening, as we sat together watching the sunset from our back porch, that Ethan broke the comfortable silence that had settled between us. "Alex," he began, his voice laced with a hesitancy that had become all too familiar, Do you think we can truly get past this? I turned to him, taking in the vulnerability etched across his features. I believe we can, Ethan. It won't be easy, and it'll take time, but I think we're on the right path. He nodded, taking a deep breath before continuing. I've been doing a lot of thinking about us, about everything that's happened. And I realized that I played a part in all of this too. I may not have made a shocking proposal, but I wasn't present. I stopped paying attention, stopped trying. For that, I'm sorry. His admission was a balm to the lingering wounds between us. Ethan, I. No, let me finish, he interjected gently. I want to do better, be better for us. I've started looking into couples therapy. I think it could help us, give us the tools we need to rebuild. What do you think? The suggestion took me by surprise, not because it was unwelcome, but because it was something I had been considering as well. I think it's a great idea, I replied, warmth spreading through my chest. I've been thinking the same thing. It's going to take more than just our love to get through this. We need guidance, and I think therapy could be the answer. Ethan reached for my hand, his grip firm and reassuring. I'm glad you agree. I want us to work, Alex. I want us to find our way back to each other. And we will, I assured him, squeezing his hand in return. We've already taken the first steps. It's going to be a journey, but I can't imagine taking it with anyone else but you. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting the sky in hues of pink and orange, a sense of calm settled over us. The aftermath of our ordeal had been challenging, fraught with pain and uncertainty, but it had also been a catalyst for growth. We had been forced to confront the fractures in our marriage, to acknowledge our faults and shortcomings. But in doing so, we had also rediscovered the reasons we had fallen in love in the first place. The road ahead was uncertain, but for the first time in a long while, I felt hopeful about our future. Ethan and I had survived the storm, and though we were still navigating the aftermath, we were doing it together. Our love, once threatened by the specter of betrayal and misunderstanding, was now our strongest ally, guiding us towards a new beginning. In the aftermath of our newfound resolve, the fabric of trust we'd begun to carefully stitch back together was once again threatened, this time by a revelation that would test the very limits of our forgiveness and understanding. It was a typical Wednesday evening when the phone rang, shattering the peace of our cautious reconciliation. Ethan answered, and as I watched his face drain of color, a knot of dread tightened in my stomach. He hung up and stood motionless, staring at the phone as if it were a venomous snake. That was Mark, he finally said, his voice barely a whisper, laden with a turmoil that sent chills down my spine. Mark. I echoed, confusion lacing my tone. What did he want? Ethan swallowed hard, his gaze meeting mine, fraught with a pain so raw it nearly knocked the breath from me. He had something to tell me. About you, Alex. The room seemed to tilt on its axis, my heart hammering against my ribs. What about me? I asked, though a part of me dreaded the answer. It's about the conference last year. The one in Denver, he said, each word a hammer blow to the fragile edifice of trust we'd been rebuilding. He saw you, Alex, with someone. I felt as if I'd been plunged into icy water, the accusation slicing through the remnants of our fragile peace. Ethan, I. No, let me finish, he interjected, a mirror of our conversation just days before, though now tinged with a bitterness that made my stomach churn. He saw you with someone, Alex. In a way that wasn't just friendly. He thought I should know. The silence that followed was suffocating, a chasm opening between us, filled with the specter of betrayal. Ethan, please, you have to believe me. It wasn't what it looked like, I pleaded, desperation clawing at my throat. Wasn't what it looked like, he echoed, his voice rising. How else am I supposed to take it, Alex? After everything we've been through, how could you? The pain in his eyes was a physical blow, and I reached for him, needing to bridge the gap, to explain. It was a mistake, a moment of weakness. I was lost, and I made a choice I'll regret for the rest of my life. but it meant nothing, Ethan. You have to believe me. I love you. Ethan recoiled from my touch as if burned, a wall slamming down between us. I don't know if I can, Alex. How can I trust anything you say now? The room was spinning, the ground beneath me crumbling. Please, Ethan, we've been through so much. Don't let this destroy us. I'm begging you. Let's talk about this. We can get through it, just like we've started to get through everything else. He looked at me, then really looked at me, and in his eyes, I saw the battle raging within him. Love and hurt, betrayal and longing. I don't know if I can, Alex. This might be too much. The revelation of my indiscretion, a ghost from the past I'd thought long buried, threatened to undo all the progress we'd made. The betrayal, real and imagined, hung between us, a specter that refused to be easily exorcised. In that moment, the future of our marriage hung in the balance, a fragile thing buffeted by the storm of emotions unleashed by the revelations of that night. As Ethan turned away, the distance between us more than just physical, I realized the path to forgiveness and trust was more treacherous than I'd ever imagined. But if there was even the slightest chance we could find our way back to each other, I knew I had to fight for it, no matter the cost. The revelations of betrayal had laid bare the vulnerabilities and scars we both carried, but they also offered a stark choice. Succumb to the destruction or embark on the painful journey towards healing and redemption. In the wake of Ethan's revelation, the air in our home became thick with an unspoken tension, a miasma of hurt and suspicion that suffocated any attempt at normalcy. Sleep eluded me that night, Ethan's words echoing in my mind, a relentless torment. As dawn painted the sky in hues of gray, a resolve settled over me. If there was any chance to salvage the fragments of our marriage, I needed to confront the past head-on. I needed to speak to Mark. I found Ethan in the kitchen, nursing a cup of coffee, his gaze lost in the steam rising from the mug. The sight of him, so vulnerable, reignited the ache in my heart. Ethan, I began, my voice barely above a whisper, I'm going to call Mark. He didn't look up, but his jaw tightened. Why? So you can convince him to lie for you. The accusation stung, but I pushed past it, fueled by a desperate need to clear the air. No, Ethan, so I can get the truth out. So we can move past this together. I owe you that much, at least. A heavy silence settled between us before he finally nodded, a tacit permission. I took a deep breath and dialed Mark's number, my heart racing with a mixture of fear and determination. Hello. Mark's voice was cautious, tinged with surprise. Mark, it's Alex. We need to talk about what you told Ethan. There was a pause, and then Alex, I wasn't sure if I did the right thing, telling him. But he deserved to know. Know what, exactly? I pressed, my grip on the phone tightening. Your version of the truth? Because it seems to be tearing my marriage apart. Mark sighed, and when he spoke again, his voice was heavy. I saw you with someone at the conference. It didn't look innocent, Alex. What was I supposed to think? Think or assume? I countered, frustration boiling over. Yes, I was with someone, but it wasn't what it looked like. We were talking, and yes, it was a moment of weakness on my part, but nothing happened. You've known me for years, Mark. You should have known better than to jump to conclusions. There was a long silence on the other end of the line, and for a moment I feared he hung up. Then finally, I may have misinterpreted what I saw. It was a brief moment, and I'm sorry, Alex. I thought I was doing the right thing. Your right thing is destroying my marriage, I said, the words laced with bitterness. I need you to tell Ethan exactly what you just told me. That you might have been wrong. Another pause, filled with tension, before Mark's resigned agreement. Okay, Alex, I'll talk to him. I hope you guys can work this out. After ending the call, I turned to find Ethan standing in the doorway, his expression unreadable. He'll talk to you, I said, my voice steady despite the turmoil inside. Ethan nodded, his eyes searching mine, and I'm supposed to just take his word for it. After everything. It's a start, Ethan. Please can't we at least try to move forward from this? He stepped closer, the distance between us shrinking with each hesitant step. I want to believe you, Alex. More than anything, I want us to get past this. But it's going to take time. I know, I replied, reaching for his hand. And I'm willing to do whatever it takes. We've been through too much to let this break us. As our fingers entwined, a fragile hope took root, a delicate thing that would require care and patience to grow. The call to Mark had been a necessary confrontation, a step towards untangling the web of misunderstandings that had ensnared us. But it was just the beginning of a long journey back to each other, a path fraught with challenges, but also the possibility of redemption and healing. The days that followed were a testament to the complexity of human emotions, a roller coaster of hope, despair, and the painstaking task of rebuilding trust from the ashes of doubt. The conversation with Mark had been a pivotal moment, yet it was clear that the path to reconciliation would be anything but straightforward. Ethan and I found ourselves navigating a landscape that was at once familiar and utterly alien, each interaction laden with the weight of unspoken fears and desires. One evening, as we sat in the living room surrounded by the ghosts of happier times, Ethan broke the silence that had become our constant companion. "Do you ever wonder," he began, his voice tinged with a melancholy that seemed to echo the shadows dancing on the walls, "if we can ever go back to the way things were?" I turned to him, the flickering light casting his face in a mosaic of light and dark. "Every day," I admitted, the honesty of the moment stripping away the barriers we had erected between us. "But I also wonder if maybe, just maybe, we can build something even stronger from the ruins." Ethan's eyes met mine, a storm of emotions swirling within their depths. "I want to believe that, Alex. I really do. But every time I think about what happened, it's like this. This wall comes up, and I don't know how to get past it." The raw pain in his voice was a knife to my heart. "I know," I said, reaching out to gently touch his arm, half expecting him to pull away. But he didn't, and in that small gesture, I found a glimmer of hope. "And I'm so sorry for being the cause of that pain. If I could take it back, I would in a heartbeat. But since I can't, all I can do is promise to be here, to fight for us, and to never stop trying to tear down that wall, brick by brick." Ethan let out a long, slow breath, his gaze still locked with mine. "How do we even start, Alex? How do we move past something that feels so insurmountable?" I squeezed his arm gently, searching for words that might offer some solace, some roadmap to healing. "We start by talking, by being honest about our feelings, no matter how painful. We start by forgiving, not just once, but every day, until the pain starts to fade. And we start by remembering why we fell in love in the first place, and by believing that love is worth fighting for." For a long moment, Ethan was silent, his expression a tapestry of conflict and longing. Then, slowly, he nodded. "Okay," he whispered, the word a fragile vow hanging in the space between us. "Let's start." The journey that lay ahead was daunting, a path fraught with obstacles both known and unforeseen. But as we sat there, together yet apart, I realized that the first step toward healing had already been taken. The reflections in the ruins of our relationship revealed not just the scars of betrayal and hurt, but also the enduring strength of love and the possibility of redemption. In that moment, I understood that the road to reconciliation would not be easy, nor would it be quick. But with each small step, each shared burden, we were slowly weaving a new tapestry from the frayed threads of our past, a testament to the resilience of the human heart and the transformative power of forgiveness. And though the future remained uncertain, the commitment to embark on this journey together was a beacon of hope amidst the ruins, a promise of a new beginning forged in the crucible of our shared pain and love.